Brought to us by over 77,000 Kickstarter backers and the team behind classic computer RPGs like Baldur's Gate, the Icewind Dale games, and Planescape Torment, Obsidian's Pillars of Eternity is the latest in the line of the resurgent genre of CRPGs. So how does this title stack up to some of the classics Obsidian was responsible for, and some of the more recent games in the genre such as Divinity Original Sin or Wasteland 2? Well, let's find out for ourselves. Pillars of Eternity takes place in a very Dungeons & Dragon-esque world, complete with the expected races of humans, elves, dwarves, and ancient god descendants. The game begins with the central hero, a player-created character, traveling with a caravan to reach the town of Gilded Vale to claim some land that was promised to them. Of course, there are some complications along the way, and our hero needs to find some traveling companions to uncover the mystery behind a cryptic and ancient threat. I won't divulge much of the story, as it should be intimately familiar for anyone with the faintest bit of experience with anything like Baldur's Gate or a typical D&D campaign, but that's not to say the game's narrative is a simple retelling of a standard fantasy plot. The game's world is expertly crafted and really comes to life thanks to the astonishingly good writing. Everything from the simplest item description or dialogue tree to the latest entry in your journal has a cute and interesting detail that just pulls you into the experience like few games can do anymore. This is best exemplified in key narrative moments that use simple illustrations and written prompts to convey key choices and epic feats. The beauty behind these moments is that the writing provides you with all the context and detail you need while leaving the rest to your imagination. As such, I enjoyed every single one of these moments. So while the narrative is more or less the same thing you've seen in a number of RPGs already, it can proudly stand on its own thanks to the brilliant writing that always left me anticipating the next conversation or note I would encounter. Although I do have one issue with the writing, and that expects you to be very familiar with the game's lore and universe. Even straight from the beginning, key conversations will ask you questions about historic events, or about your opinion on the political standing of a kingdom you've never heard of. This does matter, as your choices you make in these conversations determine your reputation, which can influence how your companions and NPCs respond to you. To get the most of this tale, you'll need to read and study up on everything you come across, which will divide many people in the game, as you get what you put into it. Pillars of Eternity is a game that requires dedication in order to succeed. This is very much a game that rewards a player that finds every secret in a dungeon, talks to everyone in town, and completes every side quest. Especially since finishing quests is the primary method to receive experience. It is always in your best interest to complete as many side quests as possible, especially in the beginning. What may surprise many people is that killing monsters does not reward any experience, although killing enough can complete bestiary entries that do. Speaking of killing, the game's combat is highly reminiscent of the system seen in Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, as battles are handled through direct commands from you, the player. Every party member will fulfill a certain role, like tank, damage, or support, depending on their class, and as such you will need to use each character to their strength in order to succeed in battle. There isn't really any AI to control the actions of each party member, so it's up to the player to give each member a command. It's a shame too, as there were many instances in which I assumed a party member would attack the closest enemy after killing their current target, only to find them standing around doing nothing instead. Since this is the case, you'll be pausing the game constantly to tactically reassess the current battle situation and issue commands. There are also some pathing issues, mostly during combat. When ordering your companions, they can get caught up on various environmental objects or each other, which can really mess up your formations and result in taking a lot of extra damage. Taking damage in Pillars is different than other RPGs in that each character has an endurance stat which acts as their health in battle, as once it reaches 0, they are knocked out for the rest of the encounter. After battles, your endurance is restored by taking points out of your total HP. Once your HP is at 0, that character is dead. It only takes a few poor decisions for any given encounter to go south, so understanding your available options is crucial to success in combat, especially in the beginning of the game. Overall, I found the battle system to be very satisfying, and being familiar with CRPGs, I got the hang of things earlier than what I expect most will. However, Pillars does very little to ease in newcomers of the genre. Outside of a brief tutorial section at the beginning, very little in the way of mechanics such as spell effects or daily abilities are never adequately explained and are left to the player to figure out through experimentation. It's also not uncommon to find a new party member who come with 15 plus skills you've never seen before, all of which you would need to read the descriptions for in order to understand how they could be used in battle. As such, there is a definite learning curve to the game's combat and skill system. I actually found myself quick saving before every encounter until around I got to Act 2. The game does feature multiple difficulty options, so new players can have a slightly easier experience if you so desire. On the normal difficulty, I found that around the halfway point through the game, my party felt a little overpowered, and battles stopped requiring as much thought, but the difficulty was back on track by the end of the game. Pillars is a game of choices, whether it being those in dialogue trees, key conversations, or the multitude of skills to use in any encounter. This is made abundantly clear as soon as you start the game, creating your own character. I spent nearly 30 minutes creating my first character and can't wait to create another to see what I can come up with. Even leveling up and choosing new skills to learn felt like an important event and always left me wondering if I made the right choice. You'll also have access to a keep you can manage, but I found it to be more of a money sink with little in the way of rewards. Pillars of Eternity's most distinctive trait is its beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds, which just look absolutely fantastic. Being a top-down isometric RPG, every single screen looks beautiful and created with lavish detail. Every one of these backgrounds is a treat to the eyes, begging to be explored, which you will do much of. The 3D character models look good from a distance, but seeing them up close reveals them to be fairly simple looking. Overall, this is one of the best looking CRPGs I've seen. The music was also very well done, but it did seem to be a bit generic in that I could swear I've heard it in a movie before, like Lord of the Rings. Nonetheless, the music was always fitting of the situation it was used for. While there isn't a ton of voice acting, it's still there during key cutscenes or for party banter, all of which was very well acted and enjoyable to hear. At the end of the day, Pillars of Eternity was made for fans of CRPGs and pretty much no one else. I am hard pressed to see anyone who doesn't like this genre to be persuaded by the game, but fans will find much to enjoy. It has amazing writing, an incredibly deep combat system, and is filled with meaningful choices that beg for multiple playthroughs. So it goes without saying that Pillars of Eternity is a must-play for fans of CRPGs. It's beautiful, full of interesting choices, and requires just enough of your imagination to make it more than a worthwhile addition into the genre. There is a ton of game here with easily over 80 hours of content in a single playthrough, making Pillars of Eternity a great bang for your buck. Obsidian should also be commended for what is most likely their smoothest release in what seems like forever. Their games are almost always to have been known to launch with terrible bugs or be poorly optimized, but luckily Pillars of Eternity has none of those things going on right now. It did launch with some bugs, but since that time Obsidian has been very persistent with patches, and as far as I know, the game doesn't really have any worth mentioning, so kudos to them. I'm just glad to see that CRPGs are alive and well again, and I sincerely hope that Obsidian continues to make more great entries in the genre. That's it for now. If you're interested in seeing more reviews, playthroughs, and other RPG related videos, be sure to subscribe by clicking the button below. Thanks for watching.